Welcome back to L Formula. On today's F1 news, more drama surrounding George Russell and his contract situation with Mercedes. Lewis is trying to make changes to the way Ferrari operate. There are more rumours on who will be taking the Cadillac seat. All that and more. As always guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. So as you know, this week we've got the Austria Grand Prix and it's looking like a very hot weekend. We're in the high 20s if not 30s on race day and also qualifying. So we're going to see the likes of maybe Mercedes potentially not doing as well as they did in Canada. But having said that, there are some updates that are coming for Mercedes at the Austria Grand Prix. This is in the bid to contain the momentum that they had when they left Canada. According to Mercedes' Deputy Technical Director, he said the following: "I think every race we try to bring something and there are incremental steps. So they're not game changers and they always help. But I think our car was particularly well suited to these conditions, and also we worked quite a lot on the setup and the approach to the drivers, and I think we made a step with the car overall. Of course, we got also new parts coming onto the car in those races that they will always help in improving the performance. So let's see what we can get in Austria." So this sounds pretty positive for Mercedes. I mean, they're not bringing these huge packages which drastically change the setup of the car, but it's just incremental bits and bobs that they're putting on to make the car better. So the question is whether this setup and the parts that will come to Austria will help in these hot conditions. My hunch is that it won't. I don't think Mercedes are going to perform well in hot conditions, but we'll see. Staying on with Mercedes, Nico Rosberg has commented on the George Russell contract situation. So this is what he had to say: "Red Bull is not stupid. They've paid Max a fortune and signed him for several years. I don't think he can just run away. But you can't force you to stay. If he wants to leave, you have to accept it at some point." On the other hand, there is also George Russell's situation at Mercedes. There is some delay in it because Toto should actually sign him now. This is your number one driver. His performance this season is mega. Maybe there is some talks in the background with the Verstappen side. We've discussed this in previous videos. I think there is definitely something going on in the background. They're keeping the door open for Verstappen, but on the other hand, I think it's really unfair for George Russell to sit on the sidelines. My hunch is that George probably is asking for more money than what Toto's offering. But given how the season's going and how each race he's getting better and better and better, and obviously he won Canada, I think Toto's probably going to just let this simmer in the background and hope, if there is a potential to sign Verstappen, he'd rather pay the money for Verstappen than on the hopes that George Russell could become a champion in the future. I saw this tweet by Thomas Mayer: "A watching briefing will be kept on the situation developing in the Middle East as in normal practice. With 5 months until Qatar and Abu Dhabi, there are currently no suggested issues regarding the two races." I mean, we've seen that the Iranians had bombed the Qatari US base. If that's the case, if this war escalates from where it is right now, I have doubts whether these races will go ahead for the safety. And given Liberty Media is an American company, this is not a safe place for the sport to be taking place while there is an active war going on in the Middle East. So this also brings a problem for the championship. If there's two less races, that means it's not 24, it's 22. That also puts more pressure on, say, the likes of Verstappen and George, who are still in the hunt, but the fewer races there are, the easier it is for Oscar Orlando to win the championship. And speaking of the championship, I think Max's ability to win the championship will probably be based on his penalty points. If he has a clean race at the Austrian Grand Prix, 2 of those penalty points will disappear from his super license. So that will bring him down to 9. As a reminder, if you get 12 points, you get a race ban. And if you look at where the other points will drop off, it's Mexico, Brazil, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. So these are all tracks towards the latter half of the season. So he needs to be on his best behavior basically for the rest of the season, just to make sure that he does not get that race ban. Because if there's a race ban, that's it. It's game over. He's not going to be a championship contender in the 2025 season. And for this weekend, Max has unveiled a new helmet design. This is what it looks like. I think it looks pretty cool. Previously, he went with a white and orange, and I think this time round it's like a dark blue and orange, which looks quite badass. In yesterday's video, we spoke about Arvid Lindblad's test with the AlphaTauri, and today we have this news that his performance in F2 makes him a genuine contender to join the Formula 1 in next season. Red Bull will be organising many tests for Lindblad over the coming months, and his chances of joining VCARB in 2026 are already considerable. The hype around Arvid's performances and who he is as a driver has given Red Bull hope that if Max does leave, he potentially could be the new prospect in the junior driver program. Red Bull management, they believe that Arvid is probably the rising prospect in the junior program, so he will probably be a replacement for Max Verstappen if he continues the performance he's on right now. And just to cover the test that happened yesterday, he covered 300 kilometers at the Imola circuit. He completed 4 stints, 2 on the mediums, 2 on the softs, and after the previous programs were completed, he made 3 starting tests, and the team were reportedly very satisfied with the test. So as I said in yesterday's video, I think it's either either going to be Liam Lawson or Yuki Tsunoda who will be dropped in place of Lindblad. I think Isaac Hadjar has done an incredible job in his rookie season. He's performed very well. I can't see why they would get rid of him. If anything, he probably might get the promotion to the Red Bull team for next season. I saw this article in Racing News 365. They are already starting to make the suggestion whether McLaren should be prioritizing Oscar over Lando. I think it's way too soon. We are 10 races in, we still have 12. But if we have 2 of those races like Qatar and Abu Dhabi cancelled because of the war, then as we get closer, probably McLaren will need to prioritize. But I think it's way too early. If you look at the points wise, this is after 10 rounds. 198 versus 176. If Piastri has 1 DNF, Lando Norris is back in the hunt. But even then, it's still not enough to prioritize one over the other. But I think it's really interesting to see how different 2024 is to 2025. Of course, the first 10 races, Red Bull were dominating until McLaren brought in their upgrades and they started rapidly moving ahead. But what's also interesting is to see how Ferrari have dropped off and a resurgence in Mercedes. And with the Cadillac F1 seat, we saw Valtteri Bottas making a funny video talking about the 2 spare Cadillac seats that are there empty and that he will not sit in the seat just yet. And rumours are coming out. This is from Autosport. Valtteri Bottas is a front runner to secure a seat with the Cadillac F1 team, which is quite interesting. Was that a leak, the video that he posted yesterday? Or was that just him prepping everyone or manifesting it in some way? But the other seat is probably going to go to this man, Sergio Perez. It seems like these 2 are being named in multiple articles, different publications. So my hunch is that it's going to be these 2. I think they're a strong pairing for a new team. Finally, we'll just finish off with Ferrari. Seems like key figures like Sarah are now fully focused on the 2026 car. Rightly so. I don't think they should spend any more time on 25. They are so far behind. Might as well put all their time and energy into 26 and hope that that is the one that gets them a championship. In this post, it also says, but following Montreal, it remains unclear where the management truly stands with Vasseur. So I think this has been going on for some time now. So they probably have had enough. But as I said yesterday, I just think it's the wrong time to get rid of someone, because do they technically have enough time for the 26 car? Maybe if they sack him next race, they have a good six months of this year and another 2 months, call it, before testing. So it's hard, but it just puts them in a bad footing for 26. There will always be excuses, because we got rid of Vasseur and then we had to make all these changes and to get new people in, new structure, get everyone used to the new way of operating. Probably won't be the best idea to get rid of him, but it's up to them. And Ferrari are going to have another set of upgrades ready for the SF25. They will arrive in weeks before the summer break and could define their season. So we already know that they're going to be getting some in Austria and also Silverstone. So let's see how they work. If they don't work, I think Vasseur is probably out. And there's an article here talking about Lewis Hamilton struggling with the Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton is now trying to make Ferrari change one very difficult issue he cannot adapt. Let's just read through what that is, and I'll just give you my thoughts on it. So that is according to Auto Racer, which reports that Hamilton has still not adapted to the new technical methodology he has faced at Ferrari. After previously racing exclusively for teams in England, the Briton started his career with 6 years at McLaren and then 12 years at Mercedes. And driving for Ferrari has presented Hamilton with technical working methods that are different to what he experienced at McLaren or Mercedes. So having so far failed to adjust, he is now trying to make Ferrari favour a new methodology, but it is a very difficult change to oblige. It's also been said that Hamilton finds Ferrari's working methods are narrow-minded, with the 7-time F1 champion even clashing with Scuderia's engineers at what he believes to be stubbornness. Having to adapt to the Italian crew has been a big culture shock for him. I never thought for 1 second that this marriage was going to last very long. I always thought that he came from a very different culture, and in Italy things work very differently as well. I honestly think this is not going to end well. I think he's probably going to get fed up and he's going to leave if the 26 car is not good. And where will he end up? I don't think he'll end up at Mercedes, and I don't think he'll end up at Red Bull. The only other place I see him going is probably Aston Martin, or if any of the other teams that are lower ranked suddenly develop something in the new regulation that is completely out of this world, and he looks to move there. But beyond that, I think most people will see that he probably has declined. We already saw hints of that in Mercedes and now at Ferrari. So it's a question of whether he's past his prime, which I think he is, and he's not accepting that reality, and he's rather just blaming everyone other than himself. Finally, just want to finish off with this quote from Max. He says that circuits that, in my opinion, deserve a separate status and always belong on the calendar are Spa, Francorchamps, Zandvoort, Silverstone, Imola, Suzuka, and Brazil. I agree with him. I think we shouldn't have all these other random tracks that are coming just for commercial purposes where they're paying hundreds of millions, if not, I heard, $1 billion for Thailand. I don't think the sport should be going in that direction. I think there are certain tracks that hold very dear to drivers and fans and also deliver really good racing. So these ones definitely, in my opinion, should stay on. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, that's all for today. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you don't mind, don't forget to like and subscribe. That's all. Thank you for listening.